brothers and sisters, sisters who want to be brothers and vice versa. It's that time of the day you've all been waiting for.
Can Jesus see my weed? Is my EBT here?
No, you dumbass. It's the moment of reason with your host, Big BK.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? This is Big BK coming right back at you with a follow-up edition of the Moment of Reason. And on this video, we're going to share the most recent episode of Paternity Court, which is like Divorce Court meets Maury Povich. And on this show, you're going to see exactly what I have been telling you all when I say that the black woman shaming tactics should no longer be held admissible in the court of public opinion.
You may be seated.
Hello, Your Honor. This
Hello.
is a case of Weeks versus Moore.
Okay, thank you, Jerome. Good day, everyone. Miss Moore, your son has brought you to court today, but you've asked to have some time alone with me before he enters the courtroom to present his case against you. You haven't seen your son since a lifelong secret became exposed just 2 months ago. The court has already issued a paternity test, and those results will be revealed today. Now, Ms. Moore, what was the secret that you kept for almost 3 decades?
29 years ago, I had an affair between 2 guys, and I didn't tell my son.
Okay. I'd like to bring your son in at this time.
God.
Jerome, if you could please escort Mr. Weeks in, please.
Mr. Weeks? Thanks to podium on there.
I want to know. This is not going to work good.
Good day, Mr. Weeks.
How you doing?
Thank you for being here today. If you could, please tell this court how you became suspicious that the man that raised you may not be your biological father.
It started around like I was 9 years old. I kept hearing rumors from outside family members that Maurice might not be my father, or I might not be his son. I asked, but I always get the same results. For a long time, I got the same results.
Your Honor, he never asked me.
I asked.
Had my son asked me, I would have told him.
And told her, I came to her and asked her. She always told me, Maurice is your father. And that's what I did. I listened to my mom. She said, Maurice is your father. That's in the subject.
Now,
okay,
Ms. Moore, you said that he never asked you.
He never asked me. And quite honestly, if my son had asked me, I would have told him, but I would have also told him not to say anything because I didn't want my mother to know.
So you were reluctant just because you didn't want your mother to reject him.
My mother has rejected my daughter. Yes, I didn't want another child rejected. I grew up stern with those beliefs that a child out of wedlock was not going to be accepted by her.
How did you find out? How did your mother finally let you know?
I came up here for her birthday, and I went to the corner store, just give me some, something to eat. I seen another family member of mine. He asked me how my father was, and I told him he's doing fine. You want to talk to him? He said, yeah. So I went in my pocket, brought my phone out, called him right on the spot. As soon as he got on the phone, he said, oh, my bad. I got the wrong number. So he gave me back the phone. So I stood back. We had a little awkward moment, like...
So basically, he was implying Maurice wasn't your father.
Right, implying that Maurice wasn't my father, somebody else was. I came through the door, talked, then I just came after. Just plain blank. You can't lie to me no more. I can't hear that Maurice Weeks is your father. I had to know the truth.
And I have no problem with that.
She came to me and said, I don't know who is your father.
I did.
Just like that.
I did.
So, naturally, I got upset about it.
Now, Ms. Moore, what would you like to add?
Okay. When I approached Earl to find out what was going on with Earl, again, Earl didn't say. Earl didn't say anything to me about this here until a couple of months ago. Hold up, Earl. Hold up, Earl. I'm still your mom. I let you talk. A couple of months ago, okay? He broke out. He came into town. I didn't even know my son was coming into town. He came out with it. I told him, I didn't know. I don't know. Had he asked me at 9, if he had asked me at 3, if he had said anything at 18 when he graduated, yes, I still would have told him, but I would have still said, don't tell your grandmother. I went to Maurice. I asked Maurice, don't you think it's about time we let Earl know that there's a possibility? Maurice like, no, leave it alone. I'm here now. I'm going to be here. He's my son. So you were concerned about that, and when you consulted with your husband at the time, he just said, leave it be. Right. Yeah. So to make me the heavy on this here, when I was living with 2 other children plus Earl, with a man who accepted my children, who put a roof over their head, I wasn't going to jeopardize that to take that away from my son, who Earl know for a fact had a baby from 6 months old to 5 years old. Earl was on the road with this man. He bonded with this man. He loved this man. This man loved him. I wasn't going to change it when the man himself said, Jackie, I will be there for your children through everything. I wasn't going to change that. I wasn't going to jeopardize my other children just for one. And you sacrificed and you kept that secret. I heard it over this. I heard it for Earl. Even though when Earl came to me and told me in the rage that he was in, I heard it from my child. I never wanted my children to hurt. But at the time and the age I am now, I thought I was doing the right thing for my son and the rest of my children. I heard it just like Earl did, but he was in such a rage. I said, okay, I got to put a stop to this. Ms. Moore, you talked about maybe, you know, dating. There may be another man involved, yes. And how do you have this doubt? How firm is this doubt? Were you with these 2 men in a very short time frame? In a very short time frame, like maybe 24 to 48 hours. Okay. And then it became more doubtful as Earl started growing, and I noticed the difference. So this has been a painful secret for you to just hold in your whole life. You've known this. My whole life I had doubts, yes. Because I noticed things with Earl that wasn't a part of Maurice, that didn't resemble Maurice. I lived it with him. But I am not the only one that didn't tell my son. And if I known that at the time that Maurice, that Earl would have been that much raised a few months ago, Lord in heaven knows I would have told my son regardless. All the thing I didn't want to happen was my mother to find out. Whether my mother knew in her gut or not, it was not the way I was raised. And I couldn't chance losing another child that my mother wouldn't love. I named Earl after my mother because I wanted her to love my children regardless if she thought I was a floozy loose in the street. These are my children, and I would have loved Earl no matter what. And I would have did anything I could to protect him. And Maurice was there. He loved him. He took care of him. And he took care of me. And he took care of my other 2 kids. For Earl to be in a rage right now, he needs to understand that I love him and I wouldn't have hurted him for nothing in the world. He was my special child.
Now, I'm going to give some advice to all you fellas out there that I know the women who see this video will more than likely disagree with. But I'm going to tell you that if you have a situation like this where you screwed around with some chick that got pregnant and you and she lost contact or flat out just stopped talking for whatever reason, and that child that you 2 had together comes to you years down the line with questions, tell your son or daughter the truth. Don't sugarcoat it and have the child believe that bullshit that the mother has been repeating in that child's ears for years, the way this woman on the show did, talking about, you mama's special child.
He was my special child. He was my special child. He was my special child.
I just woke up one morning and the Lord bestowed a baby upon me.
He really was, because a year before I had her, I was told I would never have any kids. So when Earl come here, and Lord knows, 10 pounds and 14 ounces and 23 inches long is a lot of baby to carry for anybody. So to tell me I didn't care enough to want to know the truth, that's my reason.
Hell no. You look that boy or that daughter of yours in the eyes and you tell them what the situation really was. You say, look, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but your mama and I were never an item. In fact, when I met her, she was twerking by the fish section at Walmart. We never went out on no dates or shared any romantic, intimate moments like healthy couples do, but we did mess around in the backseat of my old Chevy a couple times. Oh yeah, and there was that one time that we hooked up at the Holiday Inn. Now I know that it's gonna hurt that son or daughter when they find out what really went down. And it's gonna hurt you too, once they throw a right cross at you. But the truth is painful. And it's something that these women in America have eluded for years, as they have painted the fathers of their children out to be the villain in most situations, rather than fessing up and telling their kids that they were hoes.
I would have kept everything a secret as long as I could until my child would have come to me and asked me, Mom, please, I need to know.
Your fear of disappointing your mother, I mean, I feel it. It's so deep. It's so strong. You knew if I told the truth, she would reject my son.
She was going to reject my son. She would have. Maurice stayed there for the whole 20 years. He was there in my life with my other kids and Earl. So Earl can't just be this angry that he didn't know. I didn't know. I was only caught in between two guys. Okay, so now let's say you were 27 years old. You should have known better. Maybe. But sometimes you get caught up in a situation that you love one and you can't do without the other, and you're going to try to make it work.
I know you feel like you deserve the truth.
Well, I would have to wait this long.
Did you have Mr. Weeks some Kleenex?
Why would I have to wait this long? Who would have came, excuse me, whoever would have came to me about it, whether it's her or Maurice, why would y'all come to me?
The reason why it's coming out now is that I can't live this life no more. Hey, what's happened to me? My mom was caught between two men. Okay.
So this cycle, this same exact thing happened to you.
Yes, and I'm gonna stop it.
But you know. I'm beyond pleased, and I commend you just for having the courage to not keep the lie going. Mr. Weeks, did you grow up loving Maurice?
I grew up crazy about this man. Like, I had to be in his pocket just to make sure he don't leave me.
That's true.
It just hurt, Your Honor. It hurt that I had to come as a child of both of them. I had to come to them.
I can imagine that it's not just hurting you, but also your relationship. And for that, I would love to have you stand, ma'am, and state your name.
Anyone, my name is Cynthia Walker.
Hello, Miss Walker. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
Now, you are in a relationship currently with Mr. Weeks, am I correct?
Yes, ma'am. We are engaged.
You're engaged. Wonderful. Can you tell the court how this has been since he's come to know this?
Yes, ma'am. First of all, Your Honor, it has been frustrating for not only Earl and I, but it has also been frustrating for my two children. We have a son and daughter together. Ever since he's been going through this thing with his mother months ago when he found out, he's been distant with her. He's been distant with me. He's been distant with our children. I mean, it's like a domino effect. I mean, the lie that she's been holding for almost 30 years, I mean, true enough, I can understand where Miss Jackie is coming from. Things happen. You do make mistakes. But at the end of the day, you have to live with the consequences of the decisions that you make. Okay. First of all, wait a minute, Miss Jackie. Because see, Earl is not a child anymore. He's a grown man with a family. And I would never, ever hold anything from my children. That's what a mother does. Okay. You was wrong for that.
Okay, and now I'm not being wrong because I can accept it from my son. But I don't owe you nothing.
Between them, please.
Because if it's too late for me to love my son now, then it may be too late when yours get 30.
Never.
Bag up.
Never.
Bag up. Because at the end of the day, I love him.
You should have been a woman about your business.
And when you get back in the year that I was
order. Take a breath.
At the end of the day, I am 57 years old. And back then, I did what I thought I had to do to raise my kids, put a roof over their head, put shoes on their feet, and food in their stomach. And this man, Maurice, did that unconditionally. I won't take nothing from it, but I can understand. My son did understand, and I can be understanding to Cynthia.
You know what? This court, I'm so glad you all are here. I can't even tell you. This court is about moving forward and how to do that. You know, Ms. Walker, you have so much love for Mr. Weeks. Your attack against Ms. Moore and your condemnation of her decisions is based upon your love and watching the way his hurt is not only affecting him, but your family, yes, your kids, and that's natural.
Yes.
I didn't grow up in this era, but I remember the generation before me where if a young person got pregnant, they'd go off down south or somewhere for a year. I don't know if any of you remember that. Then they just disappear.
Yeah.
They come back, they're not pregnant no more, and the next thing you know, where's the baby? Who knows? It'd be with another family member or it'd have gotten adopted. Everything was secret.
No, don't fall for this judge trying to get you to sympathize this woman's plight. Now let's do some simple arithmetic here.
Oh, yeah.
All right, now I'll be 38 in March myself, and this young man is 28 or 29, meaning he was conceived and born around 1984.
Okay.
If memory serves me correctly, that was when everyone was listening to Jungle Love by Morris Day and the Time and watching Purple Rain and Beverly Hills Cop. They weren't still sending teenage girls down south to hide pregnancies.
Okay.
In fact, this woman is 57, meaning she had this brother when she was his age. So she was not a teenager. In fact, she was closer to 30. And she's part of that Negro baby boomer generation that was busy getting high at Rick James and Parliament Funkadelic concerts.
She's alright. She's alright. That girl's alright with me.
Many of you young cats today that brag about popping mollies and doing e-pills have nothing on these old timers. Because they opened this Pandora's box of ratchetness, which we see draping all over our community today. Nothing was taboo to them. In fact, during the same time period this woman claimed her affair happened, the Gap Band had a song where Charlie Wilson laid down an old school rap talking about Jack and Jill went up the hill to have a little fun. Stupid Jill forgot her pill, and now they have a son, which is probably how this young man was conceived.
Oh, yeah.
You also need to take into account that this is the first generation of black women who largely accepted feminism en masse and ignored the principles of the civil rights era and black power movement of the late 1960s as if it never existed.
It's all her.
What we can do today is figure out how do we go forward. From experience, I can say this. Where there is emotion, there is still love. You all love each other.
I love my son with all my heart.
You love your son and you love Miss Walker.
I love Cynthia because she is a good person for my son. She's good. She's a good mother.
Maybe you needed to get that out, and maybe this court was just the place where you need to lay it on the table.
Now you all see how the women in the courtroom clapped and cheered for this woman, knowing she was wrong for what she did. That is because they are all caught up in a last-ditch effort to do some damage control. Because feminism is blowing up in their faces. And black man, I want you to remember that. Because when the shoe is on the other foot, these same women are rooting for you to be beheaded or hung high by noon.
Now, with all of that said...
Can I hug my son?
Can I hug my son? You may hug your son, and then we can have the results.
I'm so sorry. I love you. No matter what, I love you.
I love you too.
And I love you.
Thank you. Jerome, if you could please hand me the envelope.
There you go.
relates to Mr. Earl Weeks. Mr. Weeks, the man who has raised you for the past 29 years is not your biological father.
No, don't change it too much. Are you okay?
Look at me.
I never wanted to hurt my spine.
You know what? Let me tell you something. Let me tell you what you did for your son. You gave him a father that loved and accepted him, and you gave him the best life you knew how to give him. You cannot beat yourself up over this. It was a judgment call. You had to make it, and you did. Come sit. She needs you.
They're beating you up, black man.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Black man, let me tell you something. This black woman attacked your character for more than 40 years in books, magazines, television talk shows, movies, psychiatric medical reviews, stage plays. Hell, she even attacked you in songs. Convicted rapists and serial killers haven't gotten as much bad publicity as you, black man, as evidenced by the monster in Ohio that kidnapped and sexually assaulted those women for years, who was rarely mentioned in the media, while Charles Ramsey was put on blast by his ex-woman who was salty that he had 2 minutes of fame for doing a heroic deed.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, black man, you have been called everything. From the big bad baby daddy wolf, the deadbeat, the abominable, shiftless, lazy Negro, the hoodlum, the thug, and a number of other nicknames which she is still continuing to use in her common everyday terminology to describe you. And now with the advent of YouTube, Facebook, and other forms of internet-enhanced social media, you've finally been able to go on a few scoring drives and put some points on the board. But this black woman has been using the home field advantage and crooked referees, i.e. feminist judges like this woman on the show who is coddling this woman, and the fair-weathered simps who keep rooting for them to keep this fixed game going.
You know what? Let me tell you something. Let me tell you what you did for your son. You gave him a father that loved and accepted him, and you gave him the best life you knew how to give him.
And that's why guys like me, Mayor of Blacktown, Rick Scorpio, and a host of others have been throwing the red challenge flag. So these clowns who debate us have no other choice but to go under the booth and review the play because the evidence is just too overwhelming.